Payne. Welcome to my stained glass studio. If you've been thinking about remodeling your kitchen or family room, perhaps you've given some wishful thought to stained glass cabinet inserts. Well, if you have, you're not alone. Did you know that stained glass cabinet inserts are one of the most often requested items by new homeowners? But did you ever give any thought to why not do it yourself? When we come back, I'll show you just how easy it can be.
Scented panty liners just mask odor, but All Days from Always can actually help absorb it. Their unique odor-absorbing core and dry weave top sheet pull moisture and odor inside. All Days odor-absorbing panty liners don't just mask odor, control it.
Could you say it to her face? Could you tell her that 70 cents a day is too much to pay to save her from misery? Could you tell her that it's too much to pay to save her life? Face to face with a wonderful young girl like my friend Dorian, none of us could say anything like that. But we do say it. We say it by changing the channel. We say it by leaving the room. We say it by not making a simple phone call. 70 cents a day. Now, where you and I live, we'd say that's not enough to change anything. But where Dorian lives, it's enough to change her life. It's enough to protect her from deadly childhood diseases, enough to give her clean water and good food, enough to send her to school, all for just 70 cents a day. Bad water, no sanitation, no money for food. Luis was near death from severe skin infection. His mom cried herself to sleep. A phone call from a lady in Cannon Beach, Oregon changed all that. Thanks to her 70 cents a day, Luis is better. And for the first time, his mom can buy food at the market. Luis has two problems, though. He eats too much, and he can't seem to stop smiling. His sponsor couldn't say no to a face like this. Christian Children's Fund is one of the world's oldest and most respected charities. We've seen thousands of lives saved, one at a time, for just 70 cents a day. Call and let us send you the story and a photo of a child you can save. A child like Dorian. He didn't say no by changing the channel. He didn't say no by leaving the room. Will you now say no to a child who needs you? Look into these eyes and do what you'd do if you were face to face. Tell them that 70 cents a day is not too much.
The first thing that we need to do to start creating our stained glass cabinet insert is to measure our cabinet. Now, if you have solid wood door cabinets, you might want to take them to a local cabinet shop in your hometown and ask them to cut the doors out and make it ready for glass. If you're ordering new doors or you're having a new home built, tell your builder that you intend to make your own stained glass panels and you want your cabinets ready for glass. When we get ready to measure our cabinet door, we want to notice that there's a recessed edge all the way around, all four sides. That's the ledge that our stained glass panel is going to rest on once we install it. So when you measure from the setback on one side all the way over to the setback on the other side. And you'll see that that measures 13.5 inches. We're going to measure the middle and the top, and all of them measure 13.5 inches. Then we're going to measure from the top to the bottom. That's 25.5. We're going to check the center and the other end to make sure that our cabinet door is all square. If you have different measurements, you want to take the smallest of any measurement that you receive, and that's going to be the size that you build your cabinet on. I want to call your attention to one more feature. See how this corner is curved? That's the mark that the router makes when it goes around the inside of this door to cut out the opening. We need to build our cabinet panel out of lead around the outside so that we can trim it down to allow for this curve. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Selecting a design for your kitchen cabinet panel can be lots of fun. If you don't feel comfortable in creating your own design, I'm sure at your local glass shop they'll have lots of them for you to choose from. There's a couple of things, though, for you to keep in mind, whether you're creating your own design or selecting one out of a book. First of all, be sure that your design blends well with the rest of the decor in the room. If your kitchen cabinets are oak and you have a real country look, then be sure you select something that's more along the traditional lines. But if you're creating a stained glass panel for a cupboard like I'm working on today, that is a black Formica and very contemporary, You might want to select something like I did that features some of the new iridescent glass by Spectrum and some of the black and white ripples. All of those glasses have a real contemporary look to them, and they'll blend very well with the design that I've created. Another thing that you want to keep in mind when you're selecting glass for your cabinet is what are you going to be putting inside of it? If you're going to be putting all of your staple goods like canned goods and cereal inside of those cabinet doors, then you want to be sure that you select a glass that's very opaque, one that you can't see through, or very distorted like the clear ripple that I'm using in this particular project. But if you're going to be displaying some beautiful glasses or dishes that you want everyone to see, you might want to try selecting something like this wispy piece that allows some vision through, but will also distort in case a few things are out of place in the cabinet. When you create your design, you want to always be sure that you use a triangle and a good straight steel ruler that will keep your corners nice and square and keep all of your lines even. Take the time to measure more than once. Be sure that everything is going to end up the size that you want it once you're through with it. Then you want to take the time to number your pattern so that you'll know where your pieces go once you're through cutting them out. Now you can use two different methods to cut your glass for your cabinet door. You can either use the pattern method, whereas you use pattern scissors to cut out your design and then glue those pieces down onto your glass surface and cut around them. Or you can use the technique that I used, which is light box cutting. I put my design down on top of a light box, put the glass over the design, and looking right through the glass, I cut out each one of my shapes. Whichever you feel the most comfortable with is fine to use. We're going to start building our window now. I've put on the top of my work table a wooden surface that has a right angle created right here so that I'll build my panel from this angle, and I'm not going to have to worry about whether or not it's square when I'm done. I used an X-Acto knife and a straight ruler, and I trimmed my pattern at the outside line that we call the finished line. Now there's two lines that I have drawn around the outside of my design. One is the finished, the other is the cut. The cut size is how close or how far over I cut my glass. The finished side is where I'm going to stop putting my lead. I'm going to use two different sizes of lead in my project. I'm going to use a wider piece for the outside. This is a piece of Cascade lead. It has an H shape to it, and it's 3/8 of an inch wide across the face. The reason we're using an H piece of cane on the outside is you remember earlier when we measured our cabinet door and the edges were rounded? Well, we need to be able to trim this lead down with our nippers once the cabinet's been built so it'll go into that opening real easy when we get ready to install it. And a U-shaped lead wouldn't do that for us. Only the H will. On the inside of my window, though, this big lead would not give me the delicate look that I'm after. So instead, I'm going to switch to a size of lead that is 3/16. Still has the same H profile as we're using on the outside, but this time it's only 3/16 of an inch wide, and the surface of it is what we call a crown. It's rounded. It's also made by Cascade.
Mosaics are hot. Everyone is enjoying the fun of creating beautiful mosaic projects for the home and garden. Start today. It's never been easier. Vicki Payne's Mosaic Kit contains everything you need. A beautiful color assortment of mosaic glass, fixed non-toxic mosaic glue, 3 popular colors of grout, special grout removal pad, gloves, applicator, glass cutter, and simple, easy-to-follow instructions and fun-to-make project ideas. Order now and receive Vicki Payne's 1-hour step-by-step mosaic video featuring dozens of fun-to-make project ideas. A $20 value free. Discover how easy it is to create mosaic tabletops, planters, stepping stones, picture frames, and more. Great gift ideas that will amaze and delight your friends and family. Don't wait. Call today. Toll-free 800-332-VIX. Mosaic Kit, glass, and video, only $29 plus shipping and handling. Fix Crafts, the assurance of quality you can depend on.
Point your toes. I love teaching 6-year-olds. They listen. But my daughter Lori, she's 16. Need I say more? So on things that are important like teeth, I show instead of tell. My teeth? Of course they're healthy. I'm a Crest kid. I use Crest tartar protection because it helps remove plaque, protect against visible tartar buildup, and strengthen teeth against cavities. You know, this role model stuff really seems to be working.
Behind that healthy smile, there's a Crest kid. Hit the trail when Brian Keith stars as the Westerner. Saturdays at 12:30, Sundays at 10:30 on Nostalgia.
I had to stretch my lead before I use it. If I don't stretch it, it's going to continue to stretch from the weight of the glass, and pretty soon that panel will fall apart. So to save time today, I stretched my lead, cut 2 pieces for the outside, and don't worry if you cut them a little bit longer than your window. They're easy to trim later. And I'm going to use horseshoe nails to hold my window in place. This will keep the lead from slipping around when I first get started. And I'm going to take my first piece of glass, which is a piece of ripple glass, and put it right inside of this channel, just like that. Take my lead knife, and I'm just going to tap it gently down inside of that cane. I want to be sure that I can see the black line all the way around my glass piece. If I can't, then I need to pull it out and either grows or grind it down smaller so that I can see the black line all the way around it. Now, if your piece is way too small and you see more than the black line, you see some white, you may have to recut a piece every now and again. To keep this piece from moving around, I'm going to take one of my smaller pieces of lead, cut what I call a spacer, and put it right in here, hold it with a nail, and hammer it down. That'll keep that piece from wiggling around. Now then, I'm going to take a larger strip of my inside lead. I'm going to cut it down into a length I can handle, and I'm going to slip it right up onto this lead cane right here, and I'm going to mark where this piece of lead that's holding it in place stops and where I want to trim this lead off. I'm going to cut that angle first at flat edge and then turn my nipper sideways and cut that other angle. Put that piece of cane in place, and now I'm ready for my next piece of glass. You always want to take the time to tap in each piece of glass. Otherwise, it may not be all the way down into the channel, and you'll start trimming glass pieces and find out that they're too short. Okay, the next piece of glass that I want to put in is number 7. Because this is a long black line in my design, and I want to continue one piece of lead from this top side all the way down around this line. So to do that, I need to move all of my nails over so that it's more convenient for me to work on it. You can't ever use enough nails in your project. The more you use, the easier it is to build. This time I'm going to mold this lead just a little bit with my hand, curve it, put it on top of this edge, and mark right across it. That's where I want to trim it off. Hold it again at that angle and just snip it right across there. Fit it right back. And using this piece of lead as my guideline, I'm going to put my lead knife right up next to it and just rock across the face of it. That rocking across the face is going to scribe a little mark on my lead cane. That's exactly where I want to trim it off. Always remember to cut the flat angle first and then to turn it in with the nippers and get the angle you want. Okay, we'll set that piece up on top of there, and we're ready to put in the next piece. We're going to slide it up, and we're going to tap gently on the edge and tap on the side. Now, when you're working with a piece that has a curve in it, it's real important for you to never tap right offset the curve, because that could send a shock through it and crack the glass all the way back. We're now going to put a nail and a little piece of lead in the end of this. And we're going to take an even longer piece of cane this time, put it up over our glass, measure it, cut it off, and wiggle our nail out real gentle. Don't jerk these out because they may lift up your glass with them. Put the cane up over the edge of your glass. To help us hold this piece of lead in, we're going to put in number 4 now. And when we put number 4 in, we notice that it's hanging out across our black line. We need to trim this back or the next piece is not going to fit properly. I'm taking a glass marking pen, and I'm just going to mark right along the edge where I need to trim this down. Now I'm going to use my glass grinder to help me trim this out so it'll give me a nice smooth edge. Always want to put your safety glasses on whenever you run a piece of machinery. And we're just going to be pushing into the wheel and grinding along the edge. Okay, we want to be sure we dry our piece off real well before we put it back into our window, or it'll get our design wet, and then it'll start to buckle on us as we build it. Now our piece fits nice and even for us. We can see our black line, and we know that our next pieces will go in just nice and smoothly. Now that we have 4 in, I'm going to gently bend this piece of lead cane right on around my window, just like that. And I'm going to stop right at this edge where my spacer is. Now, remember to take your lead knife and just put a little scribe right across that lead cane. That'll be your indication on where you want to trim it. You don't have to take this piece back out of your window, though, to trim. All you have to do is gently rock it over to the front. Take your nippers and set them right on their ends so that they're parallel with the line along your pattern. And just cut it off nice and smooth and even. You can pull that back. If you want to hold this in place until you get your next piece in, use a scrap piece of lead and a horseshoe nail, just like you did on your glass. And we're ready just to continue on through our window, putting in one piece of glass and then a piece of lead and another piece of glass until we've finished building our whole window.
The beauty of stained glass is everywhere, and now, for the first time, you can make your own real stained glass projects. Everything you need is included in this simple-to-use, easy-to-follow kit. Your friends will be amazed at the beautiful creations you can make. Brand-name, American-made tools assure your success. The kit contains easy-to-follow instructions, a colorful assortment of glass, original Vicki Payne patterns, a Weller soldering iron, copper foil, flux, solder, a professional glass cutter, and pliers, all for only $39. Order now and receive as a gift Vicki Payne's #1 selling video, My First Project, a $25 value. Step-by-step instructions make it easy for you to learn glass cutting, assembly, and soldering techniques. It's amazing how simple and easy it is to successfully create real stained glass projects. Make the call, toll-free 800-332-VIX. Only $39 plus shipping and handling. VIX Crafts, assurance of quality you can depend on.
There's nothing to eat.
You may not understand everything that comes out of his mouth, but with Sunny Delight, at least you understand what goes in it. To him, it's good. To you, it's good for him. What's not to understand? Sunny Delight, the good stuff kids go for.
Once you've finished building your window, you want to be sure that it's exactly the right size before you solder it. First of all, let's check to make sure it's square. Take your triangle, put one side right up against your squaring table, slide it down, and check the edge of your lead. Your lead and your square should be even with each other all the way down your window. Now, if you see some lead extending beyond your triangle, use your squaring bar, which is just pieces of clear glass wrapped with masking tape that have 2 straight edges on them, and tap against that edge. That will help shift this pattern over. Sometimes if you're only out of a square, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, this will bring you right into line. If it's more than that and tapping doesn't do it, you're going to have to take the lead off and grind your glass down and make sure that you get this line nice and straight. It's easier to do it now than once it's ready to go into your cabinet. You're also going to check the other corner, and you're going to check this end exactly the same way to make sure that they're all nice and square. Then we want to make sure it's the right size. Take your ruler And be sure that you use exactly the same ruler that you did to measure your kitchen cabinet opening. Because if you switch rulers or you use a different kind of measuring tape, you may not get an accurate measurement. 13 and a half, 13 and a half, and we're still 13 and a half, which will be perfect for the width that we need. We checked our length, and we find that we're right at 25 and a half, which is exactly where we want to be. And now we're ready to do our soldering. While my soldering iron is heating up, I want to take advantage of this time and turn around the tips on my lead nice and tight up against the next piece. By using my lead knife, I can just turn those curved edges around. That'll make the solder flow much nicer when I get ready to do that kind of work. If you have some pieces that don't line up well, this is the time to take your lead knife and help make those adjustments all the way across your window. Make sure that if you have a big gap, that you position that lead strip halfway between each edge if you can, and that will make the gap smaller and make your soldering a lot easier. You usually see me work with a small tip when I'm doing copper foil work, but now since I'm going to be soldering larger pieces of lead cane, I'm using the same Unger soldering iron that you always see me working with, but this time I have changed to a larger tip. This will allow me to do a much nicer job of soldering my lead canes together. Remember though, anytime you change tips, you want to be sure that your iron is completely cooled, and you want to be sure that you put some anti-seize on those little threads so that they don't become seized on to the end of that soldering iron as it heats and cools, and all the corrosive materials from the flux can get into that area. So use that anti-seize. It'll really help make those tips come on and off easy. Okay, we're going to use some water-soluble flux. Same as I use on copper foil. I only use one kind. And we're going to flux the corner joints. Now, to make sure that our soldering iron is exactly the right temperature that we need it to work with, we are going to hold it onto a piece of lead cane, the same kind of cane that we're going to be soldering. And if it melts through this cane, like it did earlier right here, then we know that our iron is way too hot. We need to turn our rheostat down and wait about 5 minutes for this iron to readjust itself to the new temperature. You want to be sure, though, that it's hot enough that you can readily melt that solder just like that, okay? All right. I think we're ready to do our first solder joint. We're going to do the corners first. That'll let me get these nails out of my way, and it'll make it a lot easier to work. And I'm just going to put that iron down right on top of that solder joint, just like that. All right, now we're going to go to our other edge and solder it exactly like we did that edge. It's very important when we're doing these outside solder joints that we keep them nice and low so that when we get ready to install it in our cabinet, it'll fit up nice and flush to the molding and not be sticking out. Okay, now I'm going to come along and I'm going to solder these joints that meet up with the outside edge, but it's two sizes of lead cane. We solder those exactly the same, and we're going to come right down our window using 50-50 solder. Wipe my tip off on a wet sponge. Always keep that tip nice and shiny. If your tip isn't shiny, you're not getting heat through. Try and keep your solder joints really nice and even in size. This will make a much nicer looking panel when you're through with it. Let's go up here and do these little joints right here. See how it's just glowing right around that iron? Pick it up and it's nice and even. Stops right along those locations. Okay, let's flux this outside. Now remember, we want to make sure if we have any bumps in our cane like this that we push that down. Give us a smooth surface to solder on. There we go. Just like that. Nice and smooth and flat. Now remember, the sign of a good solder joint is one that does not click when you run your fingernail across it. If you catch on the edge of the solder or a little bump, then you need to reflux and go in and reintroduce your soldering iron to it and let the heat slowly move that solder joint out nice and flat. Okay? Let's do this joint right over here now. We're going to flux. And remember, if it's been a long time since you've built your window, if you can only get a chance to work on it, say, on the weekends, you're going to need to use a wire brush, like this little wire brush, to scrub up these lead joints, just like that, to get the solder to stick to them. So if your solder spreads out and kind of has little gaps in it, that may be the problem. See how nice and smooth that just flowed right out for us. The wire brush helped us clean off that oxidation and made that happen. Now this is a real complex solder joint. This is a lot different than working on just a little T section, but you still want to keep in mind the same kind of philosophy. Let that solder go out just as far as the lead came that you're working with. We just want to continue right along, soldering one joint right after the other on the front side, and then turn our panel over and do the back side. Once we're through soldering all the solder joints, then we're going to need to cement our window. Cementing your window is real easy to do. You can get the formula at your local retail store and mix up the ingredients. It's like a thick putty that we pour out over the window, and we use little scrub brushes to work it around all the lead cames. Once your window's been cemented, you want to let it dry flat on a table like this for about 24 hours or longer if you can wait, before you install it into your window. Once you've gotten your window cemented, then all you have left to do is just enjoy it. I'm using a standard kitchen cabinet clip to hold this panel in place. Tighten it down. Beautiful, isn't it? Now that you see how easy stained glass kitchen cabinet inserts are, don't you think your house would look great with some? Think about it. Thanks for stopping by my studio. I hope you stop in again real soon.
Nostalgia, television that feels good.
I can't believe it's happening to your baby.
I never imagined my child with leukemia.
Why me? Why him?
That's what each of these parents thought. But cancer happens to other people, not their own kids. But the truth is, this killer doesn't discriminate. It can strike anyone.
When they first told me the diagnosis, it was a fear like I've never known before.
There is hope, and there is help. At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the children are fighting for their lives, but the only way they can win is with your help. Please call now and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope. A $16 monthly donation will go to the immediate treatment of these very sick children. It also provides travel, lodging, and meals so that parents can be with their children during this incredibly difficult time in their lives.
Jared has metastatic retinoblastoma.
I have a disease called osteosarcoma. I have leukemia.
No child is turned away for their family's inability to pay. Please call now and become a Partner in Hope. Just 53 cents a day. The price of a cup of coffee or a newspaper can help these children beat the odds. Or if you prefer, consider a one-time donation of $25, $50, or $100. It's so important that you call now. It will make a difference in the life of a child.
Without St. Jude, Amy would not be alive.
Help stop the killer of these children by becoming a St. Jude Partner in Hope. A $16 monthly donation, just 53 cents a day, can do so much for these children and their families.
There are no guarantees.
We're waiting on a miracle.
Please call now. Help these children live.
Call 1-800-532-9494 now to become a St. Jude Partner in Hope or make a one-time contribution. That's 1-800-532-9494.
If you're not sure that you're ready for .com to launch you into cyberspace, then stay tuned. Our guest
but it means exactly the same thing.
I tell you, I've been mugged in confession. I've been verbally abused. until today, I've never been embarrassed. But I'm sorry.
Well, it was your own fault.
You're right. I never ended it. Jim, I sat there with my hand on the phone, but I couldn't pick it up. I knew if I saw you that I couldn't say goodbye. I couldn't say it. And I really wanted to be a priest.
And I really wanted to have a family.
Well, congratulations. We got what we wanted.
Happy endings.
Hmm.